Well, let's discuss this further. We're joined now by Bongani Baloyi, who's Action SA Gauteng Provincial Chairperson. A very good evening to you, Mr. Baloyi, and thank you so much for speaking to us. Perhaps we should first start with what your position is before we view the alleged transgressions. Action SA says it will decide whether or not to continue to support the Tshwane mayor following these allegations. But I'm just trying to understand why you are going to make that decision at a later stage when you've identified this as unsolicited, this bid tender, and in fact you say that it's against the Municipal Finance Management Act.
Oh, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. You were quite correct in the statement that Action SA is still going to decide. We're going to consult our structures, including the Senate, which will ultimately make the decision. There is the decision-making processes within the party. It does not stop, however, the process we've started, firstly, in raising the alarm to all South Africans that there's something wrong happening here, which is fundamental.
So, I mean, if it's a matter of principle that somebody has done what can be viewed as alleged corruption, and as I said, it's gone against the Municipal Finance Management Act, you are also specifically questioning the service provider. We'll get to that. I'm just saying, on the surface, isn't that something that you would, although it's a matter of consultation, but you go to your members and say, this is against our values and principles as Action SA?
Absolutely. I mean, you are speaking like you're an Action SA member, which is quite consistent with our beliefs in this matter. So there are many of us who hold views, and we're going to persuade the national leadership in the course of action that we need to take over and above the steps we've taken to go and report the issue. So I agree wholeheartedly with your sentiments, and that's part of some of the sentiments we've raised, and we'll finalize a conversation with our Senate over this weekend.
Okay, and just for those who may seek to be mischievous, I'm not a political party member of any party. So let's move on with that. Let's talk about, I want to understand what the protocols are in terms of the bid conduct agreement, the rules and regulations of the municipality, if and when there can be an unsolicited bid, and what it means. Do you have transparency in that, as in the person who does it of their own initiative, do they produce the documents, the data, information related to that unsolicited bid?
Well, firstly, to have an unsolicited bid, you need to satisfy 4 criteria that are stated in the MFMA. And one of those very important criteria, which is one of the first one, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt that the technology or the service you are bringing, you are the only person in the country who can deliver that service. You've got the copyright, the patents to prove, all of these new things that you must go through. And secondly, there must be some measure that informs the municipality that this makes business and financial sense, and that is commonly a feasibility study which informs the institution on whether to move forward or not. And thereafter, there's a transparent process where you engage people, you engage the community, and you engage all the stakeholders, your provincial treasury and national treasury as well. Because sometimes there's a thin line which can easily be blurred between an unsolicited bid and a triple P. And at stages, people move for an unsolicited bid because they don't want to do the heavy lifting contained in your triple P. So you have to satisfy this very strict criteria, informed by a feasibility study, informed by professionals who understand and who can confirm if this is indeed a service provider who has got a unique, very particular service that only they can provide in this country.
And has the mayor furnished you with any of this information? Isn't justified why he's seeking this, but I mean, he has clearly come out saying there is no wrongdoing on his part. His party supports him as well.
We have not seen any shred of supporting documents that point to the fact that there's a feasibility study conducted by the city proving that this is feasible. In fact, to the contrary, when we listen to this recording that has been leaked, is members of the City of Tshwane officials who warned the mayor that this will actually become costly for the city, and the electricity per unit that would be sold as a consequence of this will be much more expensive. And to go lock a city in such an expensive deal for 30 years does not make any financial sense. So there hasn't been anything that has been substantive that has been shared by the mayor with us for us to actually ventilate the issues that we have raised with him.
You have questioned the quote-unquote preferred service provider, which you say has a license with NERSA. Just help us understand why, but also it is understood that the proposal is for the refurbishment of power stations, but that it's expected to generate about 800 megawatts of electricity for the city. Have you seen, well, I know you said you haven't received any documents, but has there been a discussion before of how to unfold with this process? The whole country is going through load shedding, and of course we want to engage with as many IPPs as possible.
Look, let's separate the issue. From a principal point of view, as a party, we support integration of various players within the IPP space, so the city can achieve its resilience and protect its residents and industry and deliver power. But we also say that must happen within the confines of the law. So in this case, that was not strictly observed. One service provider was selected, which apparently approached the city, and that was enough for the mayor to instruct officials to appoint that service provider within an environment which is very fluid, and many new entrants are coming in with exciting technology. So if you look at the contents of what you're explaining in terms of this, there's nothing new or new technology. In fact, it's a very mature technology that is there that any person who is in the sector can actually compete for. So we support the process, but how he went on the process is not correct. What should have happened is that upon reception of the documents and the proposal, he should have referred it to the municipal manager and say, municipal manager or city manager, please advise, here's the document and please advise, and walk away from there. But instead, he ventured further into the waters where he should never have found himself.
But you have no problem with the fact that, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that the entity we're speaking about is an Australian energy company called Kratos Energy, which I believe has a NERSA license.
Well, firstly, we are not certain if it has a NERSA license. We are not certain there, so I just must correct that. Okay. We can't even get to the stage of who the service provider is, because it's not our purview. What is our purview is that there must have been a correct process, which is competitive, transparent, for everybody to compete. And we don't even know these people. I tried Googling today who these people are, and there's very limited information about these people. But the city feels comfortable to venture into this space without even calling an energy in these, or like other DA government or multi-party-led governments did, which sensitized the market, got the market excited, was transparent. Here, only one player was preferred.
Just to wrap up, Mr. Baloyi, the Cocter MEC Lebohang Maile has written to the mayor, giving him 7 days to respond to the allegations and also provide him with adequate reasons why he should not discharge his statutory powers in terms of Section 106 1B of the Systems Act. Do you support this?
I think it's a correct step for the MEC to take. He must have an interest in this matter as public of interest, but there's serious issues raised, allegations about the executive mayor. And we'll also suspect that it will be difficult internally to conduct such an investigation in an environment where the mayor can just bulldoze anybody, coerce anybody to do what they want. So we support the MEC's steps, and we trust that they will be done in a very just manner without any perceived conclusion.
Bongani Baloyi, thank you so much for your time and speaking to us. He is Action SA's Gauteng Provincial Chairperson on the political wrangling that is underway in Tshwane as the DA accuses parties like Action SA of trying to destabilize the council based on this unsolicited bid.